I have to say, this figure's got me feeling like... Hello guys, it's Alan the Collector, and for this video review, we're taking a look at the Horseman Studios Figura Obscura Frankenstein Creature Deluxe Action Figure. And for starters, let's take a brief look at the packaging. It's rather sizable and it's incredibly detailed, with some brilliant watercolor artwork featuring the creature based on its description in the original 1818 story. I love the way the purple background complements the creature's yellow skin, and we even have some village people with torches in the background. That artwork continues to the side, which are held together with magnets that can be removed to not only reveal more great artwork featuring a scene straight out of the doctor's lab, but most importantly, the figure on the inside in all of its undead glory, along with a whole host of accessories and diorama pieces. The back of the packaging has a brief synopsis of Mary Shelley's story on top of what looks to be sketches and detailed notes from the doc's journal. And while it's easy to miss, we can't ignore the credits on the bottom right corner of everyone responsible for the figure, from the sculptors right down to the packaging artists. The journal motif continues to the front, and then on the bottom we just have a barcode and some more legal junk. But with that out of the way, I think it's time for a creature feature. So let's bust this monster out of the packaging and see how well Horseman Studios brought this monster to life. And now that we have the Figura Obscura Frankenstein Creature out of packaging, I have to say, this figure's got me feeling like... From the paint to the sculpt to the articulation and use of soft goods, this figure has it all, especially when it comes to the accessories. So why don't we go ahead and take a look at them. And as you can see, this set comes with a lot of very cool pieces, including 3 specimen jars, 3 19th century batteries, a skull, 3 books, a voltaic pile, a magneto electric machine, medical wraps, and 2 straps for the operating table diorama these accessories are sitting on. Below that, on the side table diorama, we get 3 alternate heads, a skeletal hand, an alternate pair of creature hands, an extra pair of bare feet, and some shackles. So getting back to the figure, Horseman Studios went with a look that's more true to his appearance in the 1800s novel. That means instead of green skin, we get yellow, and it's done really well, especially when we go up to the head. We get all other kinds of washes, some blacks, a touch of red, a little bit of orange around his mouth. All of that really does a great job in bringing out the wrinkles in his face. I also like the dark circles around his eyes. There's a lot of emotion they managed to capture it. In the novel, the creature had a full head of black flowing hair, which is why we get this look here. There's some gray streaks in his hair to really bring out the definitions in the skull. There looks to be a fur lining sculpted in the inside of this overcoat. We get some old-fashioned buckles painted in this brass gold color. When we get to the back of the overcoat, each of the stitches has a slightly different paint color. We have green up here, maybe a darker purple there, some red right here. It is molded out of a softer plastic, so it's easy to remove. And just take a look at that physique. I guess you could say he's pretty ripped. Horseman Studios did a great job sculpting its body. Just check out this wicked scar going down his back. I love the continued sutures that we're getting across his chest. We get that same detail on his forearms. His hands and nails are also appropriately gnarly. We get those same sutures and stitch work. He has these soft good pants. It's appropriately tattered, so we get holes in various places. His soft good pants do a great job of not hindering his articulation at the knees, but just remember, they're only single jointed, so don't overextend these or you might break them. I think they could have done a better job making the bottom of the pants a bit more tattered, but I like this dry brushing just to show the wear and tear. And then finally, when we get to his feet, some nice heavy boots. It's appropriately wrinkled, and then there's some dry brushing just to give it a more aged look. This look that we have here is more based on his appearance towards the end of the novel. But Horseman Studio also gave us the option of giving him a more experimental look, and we can do that by removing these pants, which are being held together with this Velcro strap and a rope belt. Oh my gosh!
Don't look! Cover your eyes!
I thought Dr. Frankenstein would have at least given you a pair of fresh underwear. Even still, he at least comes with these medical wraps that will at least make him look a little more decent. There we go, a much more presentable look. I like how it's a little more tattered in the front than what we get in the back, and it's all brought out with a decent dry brushing on top. While the thighs are likely reused from other Horsemen figures, the lower legs are definitely made for this guy. We have sutures sculpted into the flesh, just like we have on the upper body. It's not symmetrical either, so you're gonna get a slightly different sculpt with the right leg. The creature also comes with these shackles, a pair for his ankles and a pair for his wrists, with some slight copper dry brushing to indicate some rust. The chains on these things happen to be real too. These can slip right onto the creature when we pop his hands and feet off, and we'll also switch out his hands while we're at it. These chains just add a bit more character to a figure that's already pretty stunning. I also like the sculpt of his open hands, appropriately expressive, like he's just about to reach out and grab you. His fingers look so gnarled, like the rigor mortis just hasn't left them yet. But if we want to further change the creature's look, he also comes with these additional heads. One angry, one stoic, both bald. And they won't have a problem swapping out either. This angry expression works well on this figure. I have no complaints. 4 Horsemen did a great job sculpting his teeth, gritting through those black lips. But this more stoic expression isn't half bad either. That yellow skin, the sutures, the scarring, the wrinkles, it's all there. Though Frankenstein is kind of portrayed as a brainless brute, in the novel he was actually quite curious, quite intelligent. And I think this expression captures that original idea well, especially when we introduce some books. This figure comes with 3 of them. We have this green one with a little bit of gold paint. This black and purple book is probably reused from the Mythic line. And then we have this basic red and brown one with the buckle and red strap on it. Each of the books sculpted well with some really good texturing and some weathering in the pages. Now while those peg holes won't come in handy for the creature, a few 4 Horsemen figures do feature pegs on their belts that you could attach these books to. As for the creature, he's just gonna hold them. He holds them about as well as you would expect, but what I often like to do is introduce a few other diorama pieces to further enhance what we've got here, like these 2 bookshelf accessories. They came with a young Bruce Wayne figure in Diamond Select's Gotham line. Now the backside is rather hollow, but from the front they look pretty convincing, and they'll work really well with this figure if you happen to have them lying around. But even if you don't, no need to worry, this figure also comes with some pretty cool diorama pieces. Like this side table, for instance. It comes in 3 pieces: the base, the shaft, the table. Once connected, they're not going anywhere. If you want, you can use them to place these books on, but you could also use them for these 3 specimen jars as well. Each one comes with a glossy circular base and a clear dome. It just frictions on. And these 2 larger ones can be used to house the other heads this figure comes with, like the skull and slightly more dead head. Now the skull is a great piece. I like the bone color that we get for it. It even has a ball joint at the base. The only problem is, don't plan on fitting that on this figure's head. Even when you try to force it, it's not going anywhere. The ball peg on this figure is just too big, which is why you might want to use this medium specimen jar to house it. It does a pretty good job of staying in place. We'll just place it on the table. This ghoulish head, on the other hand, will fit on this creature figure. I just love how creepy it looks. Those sunken cheeks, those cloudy eyes, those gnarly teeth.
I like you a lot.
And even though this head does feature that same yellow skin, it's not intended to be the creature. But if you want, you can house it in this larger specimen jar. We'll use the smallest jar for the skeletal hand. It's probably compatible with the many skeleton figures 4 Horsemen has produced, but don't plan on putting it on this guy. Take my word for it, the peg on the skeletal hand is larger than the peg hole for the wrist. Just like these 2 heads, it'll probably look best in the specimen jar here. Next up, we'll take a look at some of the more electrifying accessories, like this voltaic pile.
Come again?
It was essentially the world's first practical electric battery. It was invented in the 1800s by Italian chemist Alessandro Volta. He would stack metal discs on top of each other, like copper and zinc, which we have sculpted in the middle here. In between these discs, there'd be a cloth that was soaked in salt water, which was used to help generate an electrical current. The higher you stack the metal, the stronger the electrical output. In a work of science fiction, this would be the science and technology available to Dr. Frankenstein at the time the novel was written. For now, we're just gonna put it right here on this table. I'm not sure about this next accessory, but I believe what we have here is a Bunsen battery. It was invented during the 1800s by German chemist Robert Wilhelm Bunsen. Essentially, if the metal components inside were exposed to some kind of liquid or acid, it could generate an electrical charge. There is a tiny bit of paint on the top and bottom that has just a little bit of a sparkle to it. I like the sculpt of these metal components at the top, and as you can see here, we have a hole going right through the battery. The same is true for the other 2 identical accessories that come with this set, and I think those holes will come in handy when we take a look at our next accessory. And for our final accessory, what we have here is a 19th century style magneto electric machine. Definitely the most complex accessory of the bunch. This wheel, when spun, would rotate these 2 circular electric coils alongside the poles of this magnet, which is painted here in silver. This would generate an electric charge, and this bendy wire that we have here wrapped around it acted as a cable that was typically attached to 2 hand rods that was held by medical patients as an early form of electrotherapy. The faster you spun the wheel, the higher the electrical output. And the best part is, this bendy wire is thin enough to fit through all 3 Bunsen batteries and the voltaic pile. As you can see, I carefully wove this bendy wire through each of the accessories so you can kind of get an idea of how they interact with each other. And as you can see, we saved the best one for last with this operating table. We get a bright silver at the top. These gray splotches of paint at the base give it a convincing dinged up look. Unfortunately, this hydraulic pump is a static piece, but you can see how it looks as if you could step on it to adjust the height of the table. However, it does articulate at the top. There's some massive detents for the ratchet, so it will lock into any position. Obviously, we can have the creature laying on this thing, and to facilitate that, it comes with these brown leather straps. I just love all the details they managed to get in here with the wrinkles. This set comes with 2 of those straps, and as you can see here, they have 2 holes that will plug in to these pegs right here. And the best part about this accessory is that it's robust enough to hold the creature's weight without toppling over. And if you want to articulate it, you can have him laying flat like he's getting ready for an experiment too. I wish I had a mad scientist to pair with this monster, but I think the Edward Nygma figure in Diamond Select's Gotham line will make for a decent stand-in. So what do you say we go ahead and conduct an experiment? And that experiment looks like it was a success. The creature's still alive, and he's got his clothes back. Let's see how the doctors do it. Ooh. Well, on that note, how about we move on to a size comparison? The Figura Obscura Creature stands about 8 inches tall, so he's going to tower over most 6 to 7 inch action figures in your collection. Say, for example, some Moon Palace monsters from the Hasbro Power Rangers Lightning Collection, like Goldar, Lord Zed, Rita, and Finster. He'll be a few heads taller than your basic Marvel Legends like the Retro Fantastic Four. The same is going to be true for just about any figure in the G.I. Joe Classified line. And I think he'll work well with 7-inch lines like McFarlane's Spawn figures. He'll look right at home next to some Universal Monsters by NECA, as well as their Creepshow figure. Here's how he looks next to the TMNT Universal Monster Mashups by NECA. He's going to be a bit taller than some modern movie horror icons like Freddy, Jason, Chucky, Michael Myers, and the 1990 Pennywise. And he's about a head taller than most Legion builders in the Cosmic Legions line by 4 Horsemen. And of course, as always, here's how he looks under black light. No effect. I was really expecting his yellow skin to illuminate. Much better. Now as for my final thoughts, this is a pretty awesome action figure. I've been all in on the Figura Obscura line since day one, and even though I haven't opened all of them, the creature figure looks to be one of their best yet. I'm really digging the original take on Frankenstein's monster from the original 1818 novel. The sculpting and the use of soft goods is great, and the diorama pieces are next level. I also appreciate the historical touches in the electrical machine and the 19th century battery, which gives this figure a bit of an educational flair. The elbows and knees could use a little more range, but other than that, I really don't have any complaints with this one. For $70, you're definitely getting your money's worth. If you're looking for a good figure to add to your collection this spooky season, you won't go wrong with this one. But that'll do it for this review. Let me know how I did in the comment section below, and don't forget to like, subscribe, and share my video if you like what I'm doing. Your continued support means more than you know. Be sure to stick around for a gallery at the end, and as always, collect responsibly.